Each of the 33 kiosks contains 7 guest stations. The computing power for each guest station was provided by an IBM Model 95 with 16 megabytes of memory and 1.2 gigabytes of storage.
The primary interaction device is a 6091. It's a 19-inch display with a touchscreen overlay, 1024 by 1280 with 256 colors. Now, the video capture in the system consists of 3 components. A CCD camera attached to a video capture adapter in the computer. Second, a computer-controlled tilt mechanism, which is adjusted so we can take pictures from a 3-foot kid to a 6'6" adult. And the third is a computer-controlled lighting system, so the guests can take their picture in the bright daytime or at night. Now, music and voice messages were accomplished using the M-Audio audio capture and playback adapter connected to speakers and a microphone.
The other input devices, of course, are the ticket readers. The daily ticket and 3-day ticket reader, which is a magnetic stripe reader, and the smart card reader, which we use for season passes and for the staff badges, which are smart cards, meaning they have a chip mounted on the card which provides information about the user.
Each guest station at each kiosk was linked to a kiosk server by token ring.
Part of what's made this ambitious a project possible, and what provides a lot of the functions, is the fact that everything is tied together. All the PCs are communicating with each other. When you simply bring an image up on the screen, it may not come from the machine that you're working on. It may come from any of 4 others within the kiosk. The 8 machines in the kiosk are split in half, with basically each half serving as a team, and also serving as backup for the other team in case a machine gets damaged for some reason. And then, of course, you've got the network connecting back to our central control room, which provides the guest profile information, provides communication from kiosk to kiosk, so that if you save a message at one place, you can pick it up halfway across the site or on the other side of the site.
The 33 kiosks of the Guest Services System network were connected by a 16 megabit fiber optic token ring to the central kiosk control facility. The Guest Services System was a large network of small stations. The hub of this network was the central kiosk control facility. The function of the CKC was to manage and monitor information generated by the guests who were using the system, and also to make sure that the system and the network were operating properly.
The single key technology that enabled a transaction system instead of a static information system, of course, was the connection by token ring of all the guest stations to the CKC and from the CKC to each other, so that people can have messages that are sent at one kiosk and go to another kiosk in any remote part of Expo and retrieve that via the CKC. So the connectivity we have here has really enabled a quantum leap in the kind of services that we're able to offer.
Profile servers send and receive data to and from the guest and restaurant stations. The bridge computers connect the token rings in the CKC to the token ring in each kiosk. The hot kiosk is a duplicate system standing by ready to replace a failed system in the field.
What we're looking at here in the CKC is one of our key applications, perhaps the key application of the CKC that helps us maintain our awareness of both the up and down status of all the machines in the site, and some information about which functions are being used more or less than others. It's a real-time display, so what you're seeing in this sort of dynamically changing screen is the activity of the several hundred users that we have right now interacting with the system. You see various words here like paint, which means someone is making a finger painting, or messages indicating that someone is sending a message to another person in the site. What we see in the screen now is that we've just gotten a red indication here in station AKF. AK is the kiosk located by the Saudi Arabia pavilion, and what happened is the monitor went out to AK, as it does to every station, on a period of a couple of minutes, and asked the station if it was alive with a sort of electronic hello, and the station didn't answer. We logged that here in a way that shows us AKF, and we also logged it over here in the station down report showing that it went down at 7:09 in the evening. If this persists for more than a few minutes, we'll send someone to investigate that problem. And as you see, even while we're looking at it, it has now self-corrected itself and was down for only 1 minute. When we detect through this monitor process that we've had some kind of failure in the field, we dispatch someone to that location, wherever it be an Expo site, to diagnose the problem, to carry out a new part if necessary, and to get the machine back running as quickly as possible. Through this monitoring capability, we've achieved a level of availability which exceeds 99%.
From the beginning of the project, it was clear that the overall quality of the user interface would be the single most important factor in determining the success or failure of the system. The goal was to design a multimedia system that would help the Expo guests have a better time at Expo 92. But the design team knew that the system wouldn't be of much use, no matter how many services it offered to millions of Expo guests, unless it was fast, fun, and easy to use.
One of the most useful features of the guest services system is that it contains what we call an electronic walk that can help people find out where these various pavilions are and where the restaurants are.
In the electronic walk, guests navigate through a series of aerial photographs to locate the pavilions. The quick response time helps keep the guests involved and make them feel in control of the system.
Although response time is a very simplistic measure of the system, in the end it has a great impact on the usability of the system when response time goes from above a second to below a second. So we focused a lot of attention and in fact had success in virtually every aspect of the system, that when the finger lifts off the screen, the system responds within less than 1 second.
What we're trying to do is drive up the level of interactivity in this dialogue between user and system. Why? Not just for the sake of interactivity, but so that we can provide information that's tailored in the best possible way to what the user is looking for.
¿Y por dónde está? Bien. ¿Por dónde está?
Part of our general design philosophy is to always let the user be in control. We never want to force them to watch something they don't want to watch or to do something that they shouldn't have to do.
And this also included giving them the ability to control these stories, to see any portion of the story that they were interested in, or not to have to view a portion that they weren't so interested in, to be able to back up at any point, to really to be able to drive their way through the stories.
Hay un dibujo de toda la expo y están cuadrados. Tú pasas la mano y
Yes, there's a picture of the whole expo with squares. You drag your hand and it makes some blue squares. You push a blue square and it turns to gold and grows. And it gives you information about that. It gives you information. Then it also gives you Spain by communities. You push a community and it gives you pictures and information it has in your language. That kind of stuff.
Pues para localizar algún pabellón, por ejemplo, ¿no? Sobre todo para eso, ¿no?
We use it to find a pavilion, especially that. When we don't have the expo map, we use it to find a pavilion, and to watch the news, and the weather.
We've gotten to the point of technology now with touchscreens where we can do more than just support single touch and release. The touchscreen we're using at Expo allows us to have an interaction technique where someone can touch down on the screen, drag around, lift up again, find information at each one of these stages about what things are of interest on the screen. So touching down, we can say, where can you go? Sliding in, we can say, what is this particular object? Lifting off, we can actually take you to that object.
When they slide their finger over the screen, one of those blue boxes, the one that they're in the middle of, is going to turn gold, and this lets them know that this is the one they're selecting. Above it, a piece of text changes to preview to show them if they do select this area, what are they going to see? Is it going to be the United States Pavilion? Is it going to be the Thailand Pavilion? And when they find out the square that they want to choose, they can lift up and then they'll go to that next picture.
However, even those guests who don't figure out how to use the interaction technique optimally, they still can use the system very effectively.
People who poke the screen instead of sliding their fingers into the hotspots forfeit the ability to preview text, but they can still navigate through the system.
At the bottom of the screen, we have a number of small pictures. We call these the breadcrumbs, after the trail of breadcrumbs that were left by Hansel and Gretel in the fairy tale. And just as those breadcrumbs, these allow a guest to retrace their steps back up through the story. So at any time in the story, they can touch one of these breadcrumbs and they'll be returned directly to that picture.
We made sure that this same interaction technique applied throughout the system, so that whether you're selecting a picture in a story, or whether you're moving around in the opinion poll, or whether you're making a restaurant reservation, the interaction technique is identical in all these aspects of the system.
The finger painting feature was a very popular part of the guest services system. But finger painting is more than a game. It's a playful way for guests to become acquainted with the system.
It brings them into the system, teaches them about the interaction techniques, and helps them go on to explore other parts of the system.
It's absolutely magical to just touch down, choose a color, and move your finger across the screen and watch this paint just flow right off your finger. We've actually seen children lift up their finger after doing this and just not be able to comprehend, not understand where this is coming from.
An important goal for the interface was for the guest services system to give the guest the illusion of direct and physical control. The designers wanted to create the illusion that the guest's physical action on the screen is directly causing the changes she is seeing. Not that the system is responding quickly to her request for information, but that her physical actions are directly causing changes to occur.
Since finger painting is so much fun to use and they can be so creative when they're using it, people are willing to invest the time in learning how to use finger painting. But they're not just learning how to use finger painting when they use it. They're actually learning an interaction technique that is used throughout the rest of the system.
The touch, slide, and lift off technique can be observed as guests use the clock to request a restaurant reservation.
One nice thing about this clock, as opposed to a digital clock, is that the guest really feels that he's in control. When they touch down on the clock, the hand automatically snaps to their finger, and then that clock hand is theirs, and they move their finger around the clock. They grab this hand, and the clock hand just tracks wherever their finger goes and won't stop moving until they lift up, and when they lift up, that clock hand is going to be exactly where their finger was last. So they get a feeling that they're really in control. They're really the ones who are making this clock be set to the time that they want to set it to.
The touch, slide, lift-off technique can also be observed as guests use the video capture feature.
There's a camera positioned right above this screen that does take a picture of the guest as soon as they press the camera icon.
The system quickly draws the guest into the process by immediately snapping their picture. Now it's up to the guest to take another picture to improve on the first picture by touching the screen.
There are two control buttons that the guest can use to move the camera up and down. These buttons allow the guest to see their image as the camera is being moved up and down.
The screen is activated by the finger touching down. Information about the angle of the camera is provided by the preview window. The guest makes the selection by lifting up from the screen.
The fact that the interaction technique is just about the same throughout the entire system, touch, drag, lift, almost everywhere, means that once they've caught the hang of one part of it, that's about all they have to do. They then focus on the content. They start reading the news, they start making restaurant reservations, and what they've learned generalizes to those parts of the system.
One of the things we're very pleased with is that when we began designing the system, we were sure that teenagers would be able to use the system because, in fact, teenagers are very willing to go in and try out new things, especially electronic things. A measure of success is that, in fact, little bitty kids, 3 or 4-year-old kids can have a great time finger painting, and middle-aged adults or young adults can easily learn how to use the system to read the newspaper or make restaurant reservations. Even senior citizens who have probably never considered themselves computer users or users of high technology walk up to our system and almost immediately learn how to use the system to explore colorful pictures and audio sound effects from pavilion stories.
A ver cómo se le puede. Un pato yo. No puede, no ha cogido color. Ah, sí, porque lo he cogido yo. Vaya pato, ¿no? Vaya pato, abuelo. Espérate, déjame, que le voy a pintar yo un pajarito moradito que sale volando.